Okay, good. Now, the questions are the ones you should expect in exams. Um, let's start with this one. This will be required to simplify. Yeah. So if I'm simplifying this, I'm going to use the FOIL method. So the 4x multiplies, the negative 4x multiplies the x. That's what it does first. Then it's going to multiply this negative 2y. So multiplying negative 4x and x. Remember, if I'm just having a variable on its own, this means that there's invisible ones. There's the invisible one of a coefficient. There's the invisible one of an exponent. Good. Now, when we multiply negative 4x times 1x exponent 1. Also, with this x here, there's an invisible one. We do not see. We don't have to write the negatives. I mean, the one there. So, coefficient multiplies coefficient. What is the answer? Negative 4. Negative 4 times 1, it's negative 4. Then the variable multiplies the variable. This is the case for all terms when you multiply. So if they are the same base, remember, it's going to be, this is the same as x exponent 1 times x exponent 1, which is x exponent 1 plus 1, which is equal to x exponent 2. Good. Now this is going to be equal to x exponent 2. So that's what we have as our first term there, negative 4x exponent 2. Now, we're multiplying now the negative 4x with the negative 2y. Remember at all cases that negative times a negative, it's equal to a positive. A negative times a positive, it's equal to a negative. Now, here we are multiplying a negative 2y with a negative 4x. Same thing again. Coefficient multiplies the coefficient. Negative 4 times negative 2, it's a positive 8. Then this is x multiplied by y. It's going to be equal to xy. X times y is equal to xy. Please avoid this error where you have x plus y. This is not equal to xy. That's wrong. Don't do that. These are not like terms. So continuing with our calculations. Now we get to the 3y. Same procedure. The y is standing on its own. That means you have 1y exponent 1. This is the same thing as just a y standing on its own as a variable. A variable would have a coefficient of 1 and an exponent of 1 every time if it's just standing on its own. If I have x squared, then you see what I have is the coefficient of 1. Then the x is equal to the exponent of 2, which is this. But if there's nothing there, that means the x has an exponent of 1 and it has a coefficient of 1. Always remember those things. Always remember those things. Those are very important. Now, let us continue. So, my answer is going to be a negative 4. Sorry, not negative 4. Negative 3y multiplies the y. So, you have negative 3, then there's 1 and 1 there. So, this is going to be 2. So the negative 3 again multiplies the positive 2x. Coefficient multiplies coefficient. What's the answer? Negative 3 times 2, which is a negative 6. Then y times x is equal to xy. Now, the final step here, we need to look for like terms. The like terms, which numbers are alike terms? Let's recap on what are like terms. Like terms. How do we identify like terms? It's the same variable. The terms have to have the same variable. Oh my gosh, there's the A there. Good. Then have to also have the same exponent. Good. X and x squared. These are not like terms because they don't have the same exponent. X exponent 3. Let's forget x. Let's say a. A exponent 2 and 3a exponent 2. These are like terms. because of the same variable, same exponent. Remember, the coefficient here, it's 1. We do not consider coefficient. When we talk about like terms, that's not what we look at. We look at these two things only. Same variable, same exponent. So let's look at this. X, 8xy, the negative 6xy. These are like terms. So I have negative 4x squared, which does not have a variable. And then 8xy minus 6xy. Now, if I'm subtracting terms, I focus on coefficient. I'm subtracting. So what I do is I say 8 minus 6. This is equal to what? 2. The variables do not change. The variables do not change. The variables do not change. So I have a positive 2xy. I don't do anything to the variables. Like, for example, when you have 2x minus 5x, the answer here, or let's say plus, because this is a common error. You say 7, then you say x squared because you want to say x plus x. No, 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 no. Don't do that. This is incorrect. The correct answer is just 7x because of the variables do not change. That is why we still have the xy here. The variables did not change. Then negative 3y squared. There you go. This is my final answer, simplified. In the next question, it's a similar question. You multiply, you use FOIL. When you simplify, you're going to say y squared times 4y squared. Remember the visible one. So you say 1 times 4, which is 4. Then you say y squared times y squared. Y, because it's times, we adding. Remember from exponent, if you had a squared times a exponent 3, this will be equal to a exponent 2 plus 3, which is a exponent 5. Here it's 2 and 2. So what do you have? A y exponent 4. We add them. Then you multiply the y again, the y squared, with the negative 8. Don't forget the negative. When you multiply, please look at the sign there. So this is coefficient multiplying the coefficient there. This is called a constant, a special type of a term. A term that does not have a variable is called a constant. So this is going to be equal to negative 8, which is 1 times negative 8, then your y squared. Then we get to the next one. You have a negative. This is a negative 4y. It's not just 4y. So the negative 4y multiplies the y cube. The y cube has a 1 in front of it. Remember that coefficient. So I have negative 4 times that 1 here. So it's going to be equal to negative 4. Then y, the invisible 1 there. So it's y exponent 1 times y exponent 3, which is y exponent 4, because we are adding. Then the negative 4 multiplies the positive 6y. Now, rule for multiplication, right, of terms. Coefficient, I will repeat this 100 times. Coefficient times coefficient. Variable times variable. So negative 4 times positive 6. Recap again on multiplying negatives and positives. A negative times a negative, the answer is always positive. A negative times a positive number, this is equal to a negative. So these are the things that you need to always remember. So negative here times a positive 6 is going to be negative. 4 times 6, it's 24. Then the y exponent 1 times y exponent 1 is going to be y exponent 2. Then I look for like terms. That's the second step. Do I have any like terms? Do I have terms that have same variable, same exponents? If I look at this, that I can see that 4y exponent 4 is the same. It's like negative 4y exponent 4. So what do I have here? I'm adding or subtracting like terms. I focus on coefficient. 4 minus 4. The answer is 0. So I'm going to have 0, right? And then these do not change. I still keep the y exponent 4. So I have y exponent 4. Let me see. 0 times anything, that's 0. So that's why I'm going to have a 0 there. That's 0. 0 times 5 equals 0. 0 times x equals 0. So that principle we know from previous grades. Oh, okay, good. Now let's continue. Negative 8y squared minus 24y squared. Good. Rule for adding. If I'm adding, let's say I have, for example, negative 3 minus 2. I keep the sign. Then I add the numbers. Or you could just use a calculator. However, I wanted you to get the concept of it. If I have negative 5 plus 2, the sign I consider is the one of the greater number. Between 2 and 5, the greater number is 5. So I keep the sign of 5. Then I subtract because the signs are different. So this is going to be negative 3. Good. Um, Let us continue here. So I have negative 8 and negative 24. This, I'm going to keep the sign. I'm keeping the sign. Then I add them because it's the same sign. So it's 32. The variable doesn't change. So my answer is a negative 32y squared. Okay, get into the final type of questions that I gave there. These are exponents. We spoke about every time you have a negative base. Let's say I have negative 3, then exponent 2. This is an even number. So the answer is going to be positive 3 squared, which is equal to positive 9. However, if I have an odd number, let us say 3, for example, the answer is going to be negative. Then I have negative 3 cube, it's 27. So bear in mind for those. Now, here, the 3 affects that I know already I have negative 27 because that's this 3 affecting this coefficient. Then I get here, this multiplies the 5, sorry. So it's going to be a exponent 3 times 5, which is 15. Then the 3 again multiplies the 4, which is b exponent 12. 3 times 4. I hope you got that correctly. I hope you understand this and you keep practicing more.